And welcome to Mike Ferry TV. It is the week of September 3rd. Okay, we started the last part of July and all of August looking at various skills that I believe a top producer, a strong producer, a new agent, anybody in real estate that wants to have income at this level has to develop and virtually become part of themselves. The skills have been quite in-depth. We're going to continue that starting today. And what I'm going to do, just so you know, for the next 3 or 4 Mondays, I'm going to record all of them today. So you're going to see me in the same shirt for 4 weeks. The reason why is because on September 5th, in a couple days, we leave for Europe. And in Europe this year, we're doing 2 big events. Hopefully someday all of you will come to one of them. We're going to do our production retreat in Italy, right in the city of Rome, which is a fabulous place. We're actually going to have probably our largest event ever take place. We're going to have over 850 great agents from Belgium, France, Bulgaria, Albania, obviously Italy, all in attendance. Then, the last week of this month, we're going to do our first 3-day workshop in Moscow, Russia. Our partner Vladimir has organized our first workshop. We're growing as a company, so for those of you that are worried about me stopping, I want to reiterate and say to all of you, at the retreat back in July, I made a statement which I want to reiterate to you today. I've made the decision to stop doing the coaching and training the day you start doing everything I say. How does that sound? So I think we probably have some spare time. We can kill some time. If I can get you to do everything I say, you don't need me, and I'm going to look forward to the day when you don't need my advice. Okay, here's the 6th skill, the skill of using the listing process. So let me start by saying this to you. I put together the listing process that we have been teaching way back in 1970. And I put it together because what I did is when I first started in real estate, I was exposed to the training of a company called Forrest E. Olson Realtors, which was probably the largest independent real estate company in California at the time. They are the predecessor to what became Coldwell Banker, which is one of the largest companies in the world today. And the listing process, I looked at what they did. I wasn't comfortable with it, so I started playing with it, trying to decide how do I get myself in a position to be in front of a seller at least 2 or 3 times a week, then say and ask things of that seller that cause them to make the decision to list with me versus somebody else. I then started going to, and I did this probably 6, 7 times, Tommy Hopkins, who was probably the most noted sales trainer of the day in the 70s. I would go to Scottsdale and I would take his 2-day listing workshop. And again, Tommy is very inspirational, very motivational, very exciting, but I never felt comfortable with the conversations that he would want us to be involved in. See, I think, and I think you accept this, selling is asking questions. Selling is not talking. So therefore, what I took from Tom and what I took from Forrest Olson was the foundation of what to do on a listing, but then I had to make it into a presentation that got the seller real involved. So that's when I put together what I call the 5-step listing process. So let's begin. I want to give you a series of points regarding this listing process. Here's the first point I wrote down. Sellers will give the listing to the person who earns it throughout their presentation, not necessarily the person who needs the listing. You earn it through good skills, strong questioning, and then really listening to everything they say. It's a tough process because, see, and I've only talked about this to you guys and gals 100 times. I bring a new person into Mike Ferry training. A new person buys a ticket to go to one of our workshops. They don't have any sales experience. They may not have any business experience. They're 35, 25, 45, 55 years old. The process of changing the behavior is a huge process. Think about doing the things I ask and the changes you have to make in your behavior to make these things worse. Not worse, work is what I meant to say. So what we have to understand then is the seller is going to give the listing to a person that says and asks the right things of the seller to engage the seller and get the seller involved in the conversation. How is that done? Through asking questions. But then you have to learn to listen. So we try to help you through role play and practice learn your listing script so the people are engaged to your conversation, participating, and you're listening because you know what to say next, so you hear what they have to say, so they are more on your side than ever. Sellers give the listing to the agent who earns it throughout the presentation, not the person who needs it, okay? You earn it through good skills, strong questioning, and good listening. Here's the second thought I wrote down. Sellers do not want an unknowledgeable or unconfident agent, period. You don't want an unknowledgeable pilot flying your plane, an unknowledgeable attorney representing you in court, an unknowledgeable accountant taking care of your tax records. You certainly wouldn't want an unknowledgeable physician doing surgery on you. Watch, the confidence that we have comes from having a knowledge of the materials you're presenting. All right, so let's stop. We say to you, excuse me, there's a 5-step listing process. Step 1, pre-qualify 100%. Ask every question, no exceptions. Step 2, mail or deliver a strong, non-ego pre-listing package. A package that is designed to give the seller information. They may not agree with it, they may not accept it, they may not like it, but they have the information in advance. Now, why do I do that? Because when you walk into a house and the seller says, well, we want $550,000, and your CMA says $469,500, there's immediate conflict. Now you're in a conflict battle with the seller while you're sitting in front of the seller. By sending out the pre-listing package, which includes the CMA, yes, they will get mad at times when they see your price, and 1 out of every 100 may cancel your presentation because of the price, but when they've had it for 24 hours, they get used to your price, so the conflict is reduced when you show up. Third, of course, once you have sent out the pre-listing package, call back and confirm they've read it. Now, they could be upset with the price, the commission. It's okay if they're upset. If they say to you, I can't believe you're charging a 6% commission. Well, that's what we charge. Well, I don't think we want to pay a 6% commission. Well, thank you for telling me that. Why don't we do this? When I walk in the door tomorrow at 4 o'clock, let's get the commission problem solved and let's make it good for you. How does that sound? Okay. Then when I get to the house, which is step 4, 15 minutes in advance, I review the materials I've sent out. I read through my listing script again to get comfortable and in momentum. And then step 5 is when I get inside the house, follow the script. Well, they want a knowledgeable agent. They want an agent that is confident. It's hard to be confident walking into a house if you don't have a process to follow. Third thought I wrote down for you. A listing presentation is asking great questions, not telling them what you think. I think Tom Hopkins, I put him on a level way up here, above most in terms of motivation, excitement, his ability to train people how to sell. But I was always concerned listening to Tom, and I listened very carefully, as there was a lot of telling involved. And yet Tom, I think, is a master salesperson. He teaches people how to ask questions. 1970, the listing presentation was non-questioning oriented, in my opinion. I think that selling is asking questions. I think Tom agrees with that. I think anybody that's doing any training would agree with that. Not telling people what you think. See, ego causes you to tell people what you think. Non-ego, you ask questions to find out what they think. I wrote down the fourth thought. We both know first impressions are critical. Think about upgrading everything to make sure you look in the mirror before you go on the presentation. Is your hair combed? Are your fingernails clean? Is your shoe shined? Okay, is the tie I don't have on tied straight? Well, now watch, you know and I know that when they open that door and they're seeing you for the first time, they're very judgmental. This is called human nature. We don't want to lose a listing because they're looking at us. We actually had this, we got an email, it's been several months. And the agent said, I showed up at the listing, Mike, just as you told me to do. Suit and tie, hair done, shoes shine, pre-listing package. I did everything. As soon as they opened the door, she smiled, said, come on in. And before we got to the kitchen, she said, we'd like to give you our listing. And he said, fine. So they signed it. He didn't say a word. They just signed it. After they signed it, he said, may I ask why you made that decision so quickly? The agent that was here an hour ago showed up in shorts, a golf shirt, and sandals. We thought he was a gardener looking for work. First impressions. Then I wrote down next. Remember, a listing presentation, you always have to understand that logic makes them think, emotion makes them take action. You create emotion through your energy, your enthusiasm, and the questions you ask. The more questions you ask, the more emotion you get from that seller, which is what causes the transaction to work. And the last point for today. Motivated sellers want an aggressive agent, one that takes charge, understands the business, and tells them the truth. Watch. They want aggressive agents. That's why when we did the lead follow-up, we said, be aggressive in lead follow-up. They will actually decide to use you if you're aggressive in lead follow-up. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. You know, I don't want to act like I'm too aggressive, and I don't want to act like, I'm going to be pushing you too hard. They want somebody that is going to be aggressive, understands the business, takes charge, and tells them the truth. Well, you do these things, the listing process will be easier for you. Now remember, if you're new to the Mike Ferry training, it could take 6 months, a year before it becomes part of who you are. You didn't get to where you were in a day. Everything takes time. All right, we're going to continue next week, and we're going to look at this very interesting topic called pricing. And in the meantime, when I talk to you next week, we're going to be actually in Rome, Italy, doing our production retreat. So again, this will be pre-recorded and shown to you on September 10th. See you next week. Thanks for today.